I'm very pleased to have the opportunity now to talk with Kirill Dmitriev, who is the head of the Russian Direct Investment Fund. Let's make it clear what this is. This is a government, sovereign, private equity fund.
Yes, so it's a $10 billion fund that Russian government set up as a co-investment vehicle. So we need to have at least the same amount of money being invested with us for us to do a deal.
And how does this step in and replace some of the more traditional forms of financing for companies?
Well, Russia needs long-term capital, and that's a big issue for the country. And we are solving that issue by working with other private equity investors and leading sovereign wealth funds. So, for example, with China Investment Corporation, we established a Russia-China fund. So it's going to be a $4 billion fund investing in Russia, a little bit in China. Yesterday, there was a big announcement that Kuwait Investment Authority is investing $500 million into all of our projects going forward. So lots of it is working with leading investors in the world to provide long-term capital that's so much needed in Russia.
Some people might say if the Russian economy is so strong and the opportunities here so good for growth, we shouldn't need an organization like this. Private capital will step in and fulfill that role.
Well, we feel there is a major perception gap between reality and what the perception of some investors is about Russia. Definitely there are big issues in Russia, and we all know them: corruption, bureaucracy, rule of law. But President Putin is solving many of them, and there is lots of momentum, very positive momentum. But still, lots of investors have bad perception of Russia, and we decrease that perceived risk because we co-invest government's money alongside of them, basically having the same incentives as those investors.
So how do you know that you're making the right allocations of funds? Because we expect the market to make very rational decisions based on profit and likely return. How do you replicate the activities of the market, given that you have government support? So in a sense, there's a state-directed element to what your activities are.
Yeah, and the key is we focus at return only. That's our only priority, because we believe if you make high return investments, and all of our team came from private equity industry, we have Leon Black and David Bonderman and Steven Schwartzman on our advisory board. So we are very commercial in the way we do decisions. And we believe if you make high return investments, it means jobs, it means new companies being created, it means diversifications. But return comes first. And that's the criteria for other investors to co-invest and work with us. Number one criteria.
Look, we've seen some Moody's downgrades on the banks in the United States in particular. How much are these banks going to become partners of yours, or are they partners already on some projects?
Yeah, we actually announced yesterday, it's not quite banks, but capital is coming into Russia. So we signed a deal yesterday with Templeton and BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. They are going to invest in pre-IPOs in Russia. But I think banks are obviously having some issues in the world. I think the fact that some of them may actually want to pull some capital out of other countries having so many issues in domestic markets is a reality that we live in.
Kirill, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks for giving us your time at this event. So let me send it back to you in London then, Kelly, from